You really seem to enjoy this story. Good, I'm glad. I love sharing the stories I've collected. It gives me purpose. Here's the next part of the story. Murphy and I moved fast, our boots echoing in the two quiet halls. Every step felt heavier, like the air itself was thickening around us. We found Holloway and Patel near the reactor entrance, standing in front of a control panel. Patel had it open, tools floating weightless in the microgravity. Holloway stood next to him, arms folded, watching. Something about the way he was standing made my skin prickle. Holloway wasn't a nervous man. He'd been running cargo since before I'd even set foot on a ship, and nothing rattled him. But now, his hands were too still, his breathing too even. He wasn't shifting his weight or tapping his fingers against his belt like he always did when he was thinking. I shook the feeling off, probably just the stress of the situation. "What's the problem?" I asked. Patel didn't look up.
"Reactor's running at minimum output, that's the weird part."
Murphy frowned.
"What do you mean?"
Patel adjusted his visor, exhaling.
"Look, a ship dead in space for 400 years should be a brick by now. Fuel gone, batteries drained, systems fried. But this thing, it's stable, like it's been maintained."
"By who?"
Murphy asked. Patel didn't answer. I glanced at Holloway. He was staring at the reactor's diagnostic screen, his jaw tight. Then he said,
"By something that wants us to be here."
It was the way he said it, too flat, too certain. Holloway had always been a logical bastard, the kind of guy who demanded evidence before jumping to conclusions. But that wasn't logic. That was belief. And belief scared the hell out of me. Patel broke the silence.
"Does anyone else feel like they're being watched?"
I turned toward him. He wasn't looking at us. He was looking past us into the dim, flickering hallway outside the reactor bay. Murphy shivered.
"Don't say shit like that, man."
Patel shook his head.
"I'm serious, it's like
He trailed off, rubbing his arms.
something's right behind us, just out of sight."
I felt it too, like the walls had eyes, like the ship itself was leaning in, listening. Holloway let out a slow breath.
"Stay focused,"
He said.
"We find the logs. We figure out what happened here. Then we leave."
His voice was calm, too calm. Murphy and Patel didn't seem to notice, but I did. Something about Holloway was wrong, and I wasn't sure he even knew it. We moved through the red wake in uneasy silence, our boots tapping against the metal floor in a rhythm that felt too loud. The emergency lighting cast everything in a dull, flickering red that made the shadows stretch and twist in unnatural ways. Patel kept glancing over his shoulder. Murphy was rubbing his arms again. Holloway walked ahead of us, silent, leading the way back toward the bridge like he knew exactly where he was going. And maybe that was what made my skin crawl. The Holloway I knew was a man who second-guessed everything. He ran scenarios over and over in his head, playing out the angles before making a call. But now he was moving with purpose, like he'd already made up his mind. Murphy broke the silence first.
"We're not gonna talk about the fact that our names were on that damn manifest."
That stopped Patel in his tracks.
"What?"
I exhaled, rubbing a hand over my face. The last crew log, it listed us, same names, same positions, dated almost 400 years ago. Patel barked out a laugh, but it was the kind of laugh that didn't mean he found anything funny. Okay.
"Okay, so what? Some glitch in the archive?"
Murphy shook his head.
"No, it wasn't some corrupt file. It was us, Patel. And this ship,
He gestured around.
the ship isn't dead. The reactor's still running. Life support is still active, and there's no bodies."
Patel turned to Holloway, expecting him to shut this down, to tell us we were being paranoid, that we'd all had too much coffee and not enough sleep. But Holloway just kept walking, didn't even look back. And that was when the lights went out. For a moment the darkness was absolute, then the emergency lighting kicked in. Slow, sluggish. The red glow barely reached past the walls, leaving deep pockets of shadow stretching long and jagged along the corridor. The air felt heavier, thicker. And then, at the far end of the hall, something moved. Patel sucked in a breath.
What the fuck was that?
I reached for my pistol. I don't know. Murphy took a step back, his hand hovering near his belt.
Crowe,
He whispered.
tell me you're seeing this.
I saw it. The figure stood just beyond the reach of the emergency lights. Human-shaped, but off like someone had put a mannequin in a flight suit and let it warp in the sun. The proportions were wrong, limbs slightly too long, shoulders hunched at an angle that made my stomach twist. Then it stepped forward. I swallowed hard. The uniform. It was a Calypso uniform, same patch, same colors. Murphy let out a slow, shaking breath.
Crowe, that looks like...
I know. It took another step, and now I could see the face, or what was left of it. The features were smudged, blurred like an old photograph left out in the rain. The eyes were deep hollows, too dark, too empty. Its mouth hung slightly open, like it had been caught mid-scream and frozen in place. Then it twitched. Not a step, not a natural movement, just a sharp, unnatural jerk, like something had rewound a tape and played it forward too fast.
Help! Me?
The voice didn't come from its mouth. It came from everywhere. Layered voices, out of sync, crawling over each other like static and whispers. Patel started breathing fast. Fuck this! Fuck this! The thing twitched again. Took another step forward. The temperature in the corridor plummeted. My breath fogged inside my helmet. Help! Me! Its mouth still wasn't moving. The voice was in the walls, in the ship. The emergency lights flickered, and then it was closer. I didn't think, didn't hesitate. I drew my pistol and fired. The gunshot rang out, deafening in the tight space. The bullet hit center mass, dead on. But the thing didn't react, didn't fall, didn't bleed. It just stood there. Then slowly, impossibly, it smiled, and the lights went out again. Thank you so very much for listening, traveler. It seems that you are enjoying the story. We are coming up on the finale of this tale. If you want a longer form video, then please let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. As a consumer of such videos as this, I'm sure you're quite weary of such requests, but I assure you, it is greatly appreciated. Each one, like the king's coin, will be put to great use.